Blade Runner 2049. This is the most recent movie that I've reviewed on my channel. It's the newest. And unfortunately, I have not seen it recently. I saw it about a week ago, but I've seen it about 8 times. So I know enough about this movie that I can give it a pretty solid review. I've read pretty much everything there is to read about this movie, and I'm a fan of the original Blade Runner. My review for that movie is up. And this movie was not directed by Ridley Scott. It was directed by Denis Villeneuve. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. And Ridley was a producer as well as an advisor. I sincerely believe that Denis went to Ridley for help quite a few times with how to direct certain scenes. Because when you watch certain scenes of this movie, it looks like Ridley directed it. So I'm not sure, it hasn't been said, but I'm pretty sure that that's there. There's spoilers for this review, of course. This is also R-rated, like the original Blade Runner. I have stated a few times on my channel that R-rated movies usually aren't for me, but there are a few that I do like. This movie has language, this movie has nudity in it, it has violence, and it has some scenes in it that might be disturbing for some people. So if that kind of thing is off-putting to you and if you don't like it, this movie probably is not for you. But for everybody else, here we are. Blade Runner 2049 is set in 2049, about 30 years after the original. Kay, played by Ryan Gosling. This is my favorite role of Ryan Gosling's. He did an amazing role. When I learned that Ryan Gosling was going to be playing the new Blade Runner, I had some concerns. I was like, oh, the guy from La La Land. Great. But he blew me away. He surprised me. From his very opening scene with Dave Bautista, he blew me away. And Jared Leto is in this movie. He was another red flag for me. Right when I saw the trailer, when I heard his voice, I was like, the Joker from Suicide Squad. Great. But I went into it with an open mind, and he too blew me away. Sean Young has a cameo. Her character has died since the original Blade Runner. She gave birth, we learn, and she died in childbirth because replicants are not supposed to give birth. And Tyrell made Rachel as a prototype. He states this in the original Blade Runner. And he made Rachel able to give birth, which is a very interesting story. And she died in childbirth, and the whole movie really is centered around finding Deckard's child. Deckard is gone, and Kay very quickly learns about Deckard and wants to go on a path to find him. Harrison Ford shows up late in the movie. He's in about the last hour of the movie, so if you're going into this movie for Harrison Ford, you might be disappointed. But I was very pleased to find out that Harrison did all his own stunts, and Harrison's getting up there in years, so that surprised me. Harrison Ford, of course, gives a great performance in this movie. Ryan Gosling is great. Jared Leto is great. Everybody in this movie did a great role. If there was a Blade Runner expanded universe, a story I would love to read is about a character named Joy. Joy is a virtual spouse that Kay has. She is basically created by Jared Leto's character, Neander Wallace, his corporation. He bought out Tyrell, and he made a Joy, J-O-I, model that is your virtual spouse that will do pretty much whatever you need. She'll be whatever you need, whoever you need. Very unique character. And I would love to see more stories about that kind of character. It's very interesting. And the movie ends very abruptly, and that's another little minor complaint that I have. The movie's long. You're going to be sitting there for 2 hours and 40-ish minutes for this movie. That can be long for some people, especially since there's not a lot of action sequences and things that are blowing up on the screen. This is not a Michael Bay film or a movie that you go into for explosions and action. There are scenes in it that are action inducing and are very intense. That's not the point of this movie, much like the original Blade Runner. If you like the original Blade Runner, you'll probably like this. And most critics say that you can watch this movie without seeing the original. In fact, it says that on the back of my Blu-ray. I would say you should see the original before seeing this movie. Because if you see the original, when you see Deckard's character, when you see the story, it'll make more sense to you. But you can, I guess, watch it without seeing the original. It is a very likable movie. It's a beautifully made movie. It is very beautiful. Visually, it's stunning. The soundtrack is great. Vangelis did the original soundtrack for the original Blade Runner. This one's done by Hans Zimmer and one of his students, Benjamin Wolfish. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. It's a wonderful soundtrack. It sounds great. Sometimes when I'm just relaxing around the house, I'll have it playing in the background for ambiance. If you're having a get together and you want a movie just for background, just to look beautiful on a screen, this is your movie. It's a movie you have to plan your day around because it's long and it's enjoyable. If you like long movies, this is also very good. I enjoy it. I wouldn't say I like it as much as the original Blade Runner, but it definitely is one of my favorite movies of recent years. It gets the same rating as the original Blade Runner, 8.5 out of 10. It's a very well done movie, very well acted movie. Everyone acted their socks off in this movie, and it is very significant. I'm sure it will go down as a classic in future years. And if you have a comment about Blade Runner 2049 or the original, a thought about it, let me know in the comments below. And check out my other movie reviews. Thank you so much for watching. You guys are all fantastic. You have a wonderful day. Take care.